Welcome everyone. Today we'll have a video to go through one of the most detailed tier lists in the game, and this is also updated for the patch 1.1 version with Childe and also Diona added to the team. Now before we go deeper into the tier list, I would like to say a big thank you to Spikkle here for translating this tier list, and this is the original creator of the tier list on the Chinese Bilibili. So very thankful and credits to them for creating this fascinating tier list and also for translating this one, very thankful. In this tier list video, we'll go through the main DPS, sub DPS and support characters from tier 0 to tier 3. We'll also look at some of the key for recommendations on the tier list for different elements, different stats and different constellation requirements for different roles of the character. Now let's start the tier list by understanding what does those symbols mean and what does those words mean. You can see for Childe, there is a pyro symbol, that means he's a fire character, and also there's a burst, there's a defense down and also a 4+. What does that mean is, the first one is pretty trivial, right? It's elemental. The second one is a notice, or basically notes on her abilities. This can also be in the format of monthly gathering, of recharge, of exploration. So there's a few different notes for different characters, and that's why I say the tier list is very comprehensive. What I love about it is that it shows what constellation level for the character actually suits for what role. For example, if we come to Diona over here, you can see that she is on 1+ for the support and healing role. So if we come to Diona's Constellation 1 spell, whenever Diona casts her burst ultimate, she gains 15 energy back after the effect ends. What that means is, out of the 18 energy, she's getting refunded by 15 energy. And that is close to 15 to 20% of the energy of the spell casting. This will make her a more consistent healer and also a support character. Now looking at this tier list as an overall perspective, you can see that the pyro characters are considered the main DPS. The sub DPS are those that can switch on the board, that can do some damage, that doesn't have to stay on the board for too long. And the support characters usually have healing or monthly gathering or special effects that controls the monsters or give the whole team more damage. We can also see that there is a small tier list on the exploration characters, where Vendi helps us fly away, and Qiqi, Childe and Ningguang will show us where the locations are with different mining locations, different flowers, specialties. So those characters also helps exploration. Now if you guys want to download this tier list, I'll also be sharing this on my Twitter account so you guys can download over there. I'll also be giving you guys the websites for both of the content creators for translating and also the original content creators for making this tier list. Now if you're wondering why are the pyro characters the top tier DPS characters, there are a few reasons of those, so let's cover those a little more in detail. So if we come to the elemental reaction tables over here, you can see there's a bunch of reactions, but keep in mind guys, not all the reactions are equal. There are two very special reactions with pyro, and that is vaporize and also melt. If you apply pyro onto a hydro character that's debuffed, or onto a hydro debuff character, you will do 150% more damage. Similarly, if you apply pyro to a cryo character or the character that is cryo debuffed, you will do 200% more damage. For more details on the elemental counters, I recommend coming over to this particular video, but to summarize, what happened is, the pyro characters is the only character or the only elemental character in the game that enjoys most of the multipliers in the game. There's only two multipliers, which vaporize and melt. You can have a hydro character, you can have a cryo character, but the pyro character is always there. And this is why most of the DPS characters really love to be pyro and also deals a lot more damage. Now, on top of the ability to do more damage with being pyro with the elemental synergy, there is a particular artifact set that is currently in the game that is not available for all the other elements as strong as this one. So by having two sets of the Crimson Witch will do 15% more power damage for Diluc and Childe or maybe Xiaoling. But after that, if you have the 4 pieces, each time you cast an elemental spell, the 2-piece effect will increase by 50%. So you're getting 7.5% additional power damage each time you use an E-spell. And both Diluc and also Childe has multiple E-spells to be used. And from those two aspects, that's what makes the pyro character a great main DPS. Now don't get me wrong guys, a lot of other characters can be very powerful. We have seen a video or multiple videos about Mona doing millions of damage. I'll show you guys a previous video over here if you want to have a look. Mona can do a lot of damage with a burst combination of a whole team support. And similarly, this particular tier list is more of a personal tier list by the Chinese content creator. So take it, but don't take it fully, but take it with the knowledge and understanding that this can help us to understand the characters a little more. Now, if you haven't subscribed, this is a really good time to do so. Make sure you also turn the bell on for the latest news as I find more of them for us. You can see that we're really dedicated for Genshin Impact. We'll have builds, guides, tips, news, and events updates for everything that's Genshin Impact related. Coming over to the Tier 1 DPS characters, we can see Keqing, Childe being a 5-star. We have Negrand, Vessel, and Razor over here as the 4-star. There's a big difference over here if you will look closely. Notice that Keqing and Childe doesn't need any Constellation, while Negrand needs 1, Vessel needs 6, and Razor needs 4. So let's come over to Negrand's Constellation and let's have a look what makes her great at Constellation 1. It's that Negrand's normal attack now deals AoE damage, and this turns her into a single target DPS into an AoE damage DPS, and this what makes her viable for a DPS character. Similarly for Vessel, her attacks increase as she gets higher Constellation, and at the final Constellation, which will be getting a lot of free Vessels with the event of course, but the final Constellation, we get longer duration of odds, which increase more damage, and also odds attack with the current character that's present on the field to deal 30% of Vessel's attack as electro damage. So if you build a high damage Vessel or high electro damage Vessel, she can pretty much deal damage while she's off the field. And this is what makes her a nice DPS character, because she can be a support, she can be a main DPS on the field or off the field. Finally, we have Razor. At Constellation level 4, you have Razor reducing the enemy's defense by 15%, which enables the whole team to do more physical damage. And this is quite nice because most of Razor's abilities is built for increased damage, increased critical rate, and he is one of those powerful 4-star DPS characters and most people can enjoy. The higher Constellation you get, the stronger he becomes. We can also see the Tier 2 and Tier 3 category of characters. What I want to highlight is with Noelle, with Venti, and also the Anemo Traveler is that the Constellation requirement is quite high compared to everybody else. Similarly, Bidu has +4 and also +1 for Jing. Those particular Constellation requirement is similar to the ones we showed earlier. For Noelle, she deals more damage with her ultimate with Constellation 6 unlocked. So I won't go through all of those constellations, but I want to show you guys why this tier list can be useful. Because if you have a character, let's say Sokos at 1+, you can all of a sudden consider Sokos as a sub DPS or maybe a really nice support. So this tier list shows you the more constellation you have, the more options you can have with your character. With the Tier 3 DPS Chunwind, he can be a Tier 2 DPS over here on the support category because he's got 2 constellation unlocked. But be aware guys, I keep saying this is a personal DPS. For me, Chunwind is pretty much a Tier 2 DPS, and Chunwind can be a Tier 1 or Tier 2 support because he can work with a lot of characters. Especially a 2-hand sword character like Diluc, or maybe the pull-up character like Zhongli that's coming into the game. Coming over to the sub DPS category, you can see that the Tier 0 characters are Mona, Klee, and Chinku. Keep in mind, even Chinku with 0 constellation unlocked is very favored by the Chinese players because his ability to cast multiple spells and his ability to consistently debuff enemies and protect your characters. So that is very interesting for me. I'll have him probably around Tier 1, and I might have Vessel here on the Tier 0 category, so you can see a disparity between understanding of characters and usage. And you can also see most of the Tier 1, Tier 2 characters kind of shifted upwards on the sub DPS. So there isn't a big difference between the main DPS and sub DPS. The biggest focus, guys, is how long are you going to keep the character on the field. If you don't keep them for long on the field, they're sub DPS. If they're a character you keep on the field for a long time, like Diluc, Keqing, or maybe Mona, or maybe Noelle, then they are main DPS. On the sub DPS category, I want to have a look at Klee and also Shaolin with everyone. Coming over to Klee's constellations, you can see that if, by any happiness, we get 4 constellation Klee, that while her ultimate is activated, if you switch her out of the party, she will explode for 555% of her attack as pyro damage, and that is incredible damage. Because if you come back over here, you can see that her ultimate does 42% of her damage consistently with the zaps, but this does a tremendous more damage if you actually have Constellation 4 unlocked. That's why she can be a support DPS by switching her in and out, but this is not very durable for most of us. Now coming to a character we love her cooking and which is doable for most of us is the Constellation 1 Shaolin. If we come over to the Shaolin stats over here, you can see that at Constellation 1, Shaolin will lower the enemy's pyro resistance by 15%, which allows her and other pyro characters to do more damage. And because Goba is consistently on the field, you not only debuff an enemy for 6 seconds, you can debuff them for longer duration. And having multiple top tier Pyro DPS in the game, having Childe as one of the support or the sub DPS is very good if you have Constellation 1 unlocked. Of course, you can have higher Constellation unlocked, and this will make them even stronger. Finally, let's come over to the support characters. Now keep in mind guys, most of these support characters are considered for utility and healing. A lot of these sub DPS can also be a support. You can see Chi on tier 2 over here, but Chi is pretty much top tier as a support healer. So there is a mixture between the sub DPS and also support characters. What we'll focus on is going to be Bennett, the ability for him to heal everyone and also to cast his ultimate, and also there are only a few healing characters. These include Jin, Bennett, Chi, Barbara, Donna. Xinkyu can heal a little bit, and also Noah can heal a little bit with their passives and their normal attacks, but they're not great healers. So the biggest healers we're looking at is going to be Jin, Barbara, Donna, and Chi, and those are going to be consistent characters on the team. Because when you go to Spiral Abuse, you need 2 teams, and you can't use food items, and that's where healing is so effective. Now notice that most of the characters over here on the support category does not require any high constellation because they don't need high stats, they're just here to heal. Of course, having high constellation on Bennett, having high constellations on Chewing and the Geo Traveler is very good, and I'll show you guys those 4 characters including Sokos. Let's start with Bennett as a support character. Recently, I have really taken a like to Bennett, and I do plan to build him probably at adventure level 50 after getting more items. So with Bennett, I want to clarify something. A lot of viewers are saying that Bennett's increased damage does not scale with her items, so this attack bonus is scaled with his base attack, and also the healing scales with his maximum HP. So the difference is you should be building Bennett for energy regen and also HP percentage. Building for attack does not work with him because the higher level he is, the more damage he gives for the whole party. I do believe weapon may help, but most people are saying just Bennett's pure stats will be added to the party. So after casting his ultimate, Bennett will give everyone a healing up to 70% of their health, depending on his maximum health. He'll also give them increased attack by 56% of his own attack. After that, if you go to Constellation 1 of Bennett, he no longer have an HP restriction, so this means he can heal for more, and also he increased 20% more attack as base attack for the whole team. As a support character, Sakura is quite straightforward. By having her as Constellation 1 unlocked, you will gain 1 additional E-charge spell. This allows you to do more animal synergies. This also allows you to gain more energy quickly by casting 2 spells and getting those particles. This will also enable her to get her ultimate faster, which can create spell effect and additional effects, and also synergies with her passive to give everyone elemental mastery. Next up, let's have a look at Chewing and Constellation 2. I was a little surprised the first time I saw this on the tier list because I didn't know why Chewing is so good with Constellation 2. So coming over to Chewing's Constellation, you can see that his Constellation 1 unleashes more cryo damage, but it's a Constellation 2 that makes things more interesting. There are only a few things in the game guys, reduce cooldown reduction. This is the Constellation of Childe with first Constellation for his own spell. This is also 5% with Anemo. The Chewing also gives a massive 15% cooldown reduction for those that cast spells within his circle, and his circle lasts a long time. So if you come over to his circle, it lasts for 10 seconds, and also it increases the ally attack speed within the circle by 8%. Now it also reduces the cooldown by 15%. So he doesn't give you the increased damage, but he allows you to get more spells out. Whether it's your E spell or whether it's your burst spell, he allows you to get more of that with the cooldown reduction. Now keep in mind, those cooldown reduction does stack multiplicatively. So if you have a 5% on Anemo, and another 15% on Chewing, and another 20% on, let's say, Childe, then we are looking at a lot more percentage of cooldown reduction, and we can rotate skills much more quicker. I also want to touch on the Traveler as the support for the Geo character. I will have to say, I feel like this is saving the best for last. We get a lot of Constellation for the Traveler just by doing the adventure quest and also getting higher adventure levels. At adventure level 45 or 46, I was able to get my Traveler to Constellation 6, and this is very good. because if you look at he or hers first Constellation, when you have the ultimate activated, you increase the entire team's party by 10% of the critical chance. After that, we have additional damage, and finally, at Constellation 6, we increase the duration of both of the E spells and ultimate by 5 to 10 seconds. This also in return increases the critical rate chances because we have longer duration. We'll also be doing more damage with E-spell and also the ultimate just because we have more Constellation. And the longer duration of both of the spells will increase the damage they can deal for the shockwave damage and also the consistent buffs. Now I am planning to make a comprehensive build guide for the artifacts choices for all of those characters, and also this will adjust similarly to the Constellation level. So stay tuned guys, I can't fit everything on this one, so I'm still working on the artifact guide. I'll have an Excel table for us on different artifact, stats to look for, different artifact set, and things to consider. So in the upcoming guides, I'll be making the artifact guide for all of those characters over here. And also before we go into the summary, keep in mind guys, this particular tier list is made by a Chinese content creator who's been playing the game since the global launch. And he or she might have a different preference to us. And just look at different characters, I actually have a few different preferences. But I'm sharing this because this is very comprehensive, because you can see that, Xiaoling has the deploy skill, she has +1 for different synergies. We can see a lot of things that can be very useful for new players or existing players, and I also discovered a few things I didn't know about it. You can see Chirin with increased attack speed, I know about that, I didn't know about the cooldown reduction. So there's a lot more informative with this particular tier list, and that's what I really want to share with you guys. To summarize this tier list, make sure you check the keys over here to see how to use this tier list for different information. We can see there are quite a few 5-star characters on the top of the tier list, but this is normal. The best thing to use this tier list is also to focus on the plus constellation level. For different constellation level, the characters might have different synergies and combinations with different teams. Keep in mind guys, the Pyro characters are on top of the tier list because of the synergies with artifacts and also the synergies with elements. So once we have more artifacts like the Crescent Witch, we have more characters going up to the tier list. So for now, the Pyro characters are going to be there. So in the future, we can expect to see more characters like the Electric, like Hydro, or maybe even Geo with Zhongli going up to the top of the tier list as we get more artifacts, more synergies, and more combinations with different set effects. Now if you found this video helpful, make sure you subscribe and also turn the little bell on for the latest news. I'll be looking towards to make more builds, guides, tips, and news and event updates for us as we come further into the game. And as always, I wish you guys the best of luck with Genshin and have the most fun in exploring this wonderful world.